Beautiful people, we're here for another conversation. Welcome to A Glimpse of Growth with Dr. Dale. My goodness, I hope that you are well. I know that you are well. Like I always say, just give it a few more minutes, a few more days, and every season comes to an end. So if you're enjoying it, enjoy it to the fullest. And if you're not, give it a few more and it is going to end, right? So everything, everything has an end. So enjoy it. Today conversation, I wanted to come in here to kind of drop some. I have an amazing a guest with us today, and I wanted to come in here and share with you guys. Sometimes, as a leader, we forget where we came from. You're a boss, you're a manager, and you forget, what does it look like? What did it look like when you started? What did it look like before you started? And where you are now. So we have a wonderful guest here, and I'm just gonna let her introduce herself. Jacqueline House, please let the beautiful people know who you are so we can get this conversation going. Lead from who you are.
Thank you, Dr. Dale. Sure, my name is Jacqueline House. I am a fundraiser, strategist, speaker, author, but most of all, just a very curious person. And I have been curious about leadership, I think, since I was a little girl, because we are all led by someone, and whether we like the leadership or not, we are all led by someone. And I just became a student of watching people and figuring out what leadership looks like.
So, Jacqueline, what part of your personal history most shaped your leadership, you as a leader today? Like, who did you look at, who kind of gave you that glimpse into what that role kind of looked like?
For me, a large part of that came from being in church and watching the leadership in church. And not only watching the leadership, but feeling what that felt like, being who I am, being a
Mhm.
woman, being a little girl, and watching kind of how people moved in church, the people up front, the people not up front, the people sitting in the pews. And then also being taught that there was a difference in where I could be versus where other people could be based on
Right,
things that I had no control over.
right, right.
And just like not really feeling like there was a place where I could grow and expand because I wasn't one of those people who, okay, let's just say I wasn't a male, I'm a woman, I'm a girl.
Mm.
And so watching that, I learned a lot.
So who were the so you okay so you're in church and you're watching all of these various different members, the deacons, the ones, the ones that are preaching, the women that are doing the song leading services. Who, what values would you say that you picked up? What did you instantly saw? Give me one or two things or a scenario that you instantly saw that you're kind of like, I wonder what that is all about.
Yeah, I want to be very clear that the values that I picked up being in that environment were good values.
Mm-hmm.
Good work ethic, honesty, integrity, being very clear about communication. Picked up really good skills about how to lead choir, how to lead a service, how to lead, those different types of things. But there were some spaces when I was growing up where women
Mm-hmm.
were not allowed in the pulpit. And I wanted to know, well, why not? Why I can't? Because I know some powerful women who are just as powerful, or if not more powerful, than the people who were standing in those spaces. And it just didn't
Mm-hmm.
make sense to me that Just because I was born a woman, I couldn't stand in that space. Now, what I remember about that is when you're a child, you're subjected to certain things that you have no control over.
Yeah.
So you have to sit in that space. But when I became an adult and I had a child and I had a little girl and I was looking at spaces where she was going to be told she could not be,
Mm-hmm.
I rejected that premise. Did not want
Mm.
my child to feel that she couldn't be in that space because of who she was.
Jacqueline, you said so much. You said so much in that in those sentences. Okay, so you saw that, you saw, unfair, what they valued, right? What they considered, no, this role is not for women. This role is only for a male. And you started picking up, okay, these values, you started seeing how things were run. And then you decided yourself that I'm not going to go down that road and take or accept what someone else was telling me. It
Mm-hmm.
seemed that you came to a point where you said, no, I'm not going to go down that road. I'll go down this road instead. Where and how was that decision made? In
And
what
where
term?
did that come from?
Mhm.
Because people around me were fine. Think that, we were formed in our mother's womb and God knew us before we were even formed. And He gave us certain inclinations and intelligences and a path before we were even born. And that wasn't my path. And I instinctively knew it.
Mm,
Even in other situations, when we talk about being formed as a leader and what those inputs are, I have to say that I had certain teachers that were inputs, right? There weren't a lot
mm,
of people in the schools or educational institutions that I attended that looked like me. But when
yeah,
there were those
yeah,
who looked like me, I gravitated to them. They were my role models, they were my beacon. And so I had a glimpse of what I could become and what leadership from someone who looks like me, what that could look like.
yeah, yeah. I get that. I get that. Can you share a time when honoring your truth as a leader came with both risk and a reward?
Leadership is risk and reward, and sometimes it's risk before it's reward.
Reward. Yep, yep.
I think even though I was in this environment where the what I saw at that point, the pinnacle of leadership wasn't available to me, I was still a leader. I've always been a leader. So I would
Why would
find
what
my
if why would you say that when somebody out there that don't have a role as a boss or a manager is saying right now in their head, I'm not a leader? Why are you saying that way before that you were always a leader?
I always found myself in position of leadership. Even if I was in a small group of kids doing XYZ,
Mm.
everybody was looking to me to lead. I always found myself in a position of leadership. And I think when you consistently find yourself in a position of leadership, whether you think you're a leader or not, you're a leader
So you're
because
not
you
tying the leadership to the title. You're not tying it
know
to the title. Ah,
leading without a title is probably the most popular form of leadership there is. Everybody who's leading does not have a title, and you don't need a title to lead. What you need is to understand who you are and how you lead.
100%. I agree with that whole statement. The whole statement. So how would you say, okay, you just said you need to understand who you are. That brings us to self-awareness. Self-awareness, how has that evolved for you in your leadership journey?
It evolved, I have to say, on purpose
Mm.
because introspectively, I wanted to understand who I am. And I wanted to be comfortable with the difference that I am. Because very, very early on in my life,
Mm-hmm.
I was different. I thought differently. I was a little rebellious with the church thing, right? Don't tell me what I can and cannot do. Don't tell me I can't lead just because I'm a woman. So in my mind,
Yeah.
I'm already rebelling against that.
Yeah.
But what I had to learn in that scenario was my observation, what's good leadership and what is not good leadership. In
Mm-hmm.
every situation, there's something to be learned about what to do and what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
And in all of those different situations, there was bad leadership, there was good leadership. So understanding who I am came about through, of course, maturity, of course, experience, being in different situations, making mistakes in those situations, learning from those mistakes. One of the biggest mistakes that I remember is leading the choir in church.
Mm-hmm.
Younger, I could actually sing, I could actually direct a choir. And so, because I had those skills and talents, I found myself leading a lot of songs, but also being the choir director.
Yeah.
Choir directors have a lot of power. You
Mm-hmm.
you you stand in front of the group, you direct them as to what they're going to do. You may have practiced certain songs, but you're going to decide which songs are actually presented on that day.
Yeah.
And we had practiced several songs. And for some reason, the choir did not do as well as I thought they should have on a particular song. And the next song coming up was going to be even more difficult than the one that we didn't do so well on. So
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I decided that we weren't going to sing that next song. We were going to do something different. Meanwhile, my friend who was going to lead the song
Yeah.
had come down from the choir stand and all the way around to lead the song. And when she got there, the
Uh-huh.
song was switched.
And so she was off. She didn't know what she.
She was off. She was upset. Her feelings were hurt. She started to cry.
Right then and there.
After church,
Okay.
when she came to talk to me,
About it. Yeah.
and I was devastated. I was devastated. But that is something that stayed with me because as a leader, you really have to take into consideration
Christian.
how the people are feeling and how it's going to, your leadership affects everything.
Yep. Yikes.
And that I experienced that when I was a teenager. And so that is something that has stayed with me until this day.
Wow. Just that one scenario, that one incident, and you probably felt terrible with the way she, because she was expressing herself and how she felt in that moment. Did you even consider what they would have thought or what they would think? Or did you just wanted to like make sure that they were successful on this next song? And that's what you were focused on?
I was focused on success. I was
Yeah.
not focused on, people's feelings are going to be hurt.
Yeah.
I was just focused on making sure that we all looked good in this next song, which, when you think about that scenario,
Mm-hmm.
so many lessons in that, so many
Mm-hmm.
lessons in that. Success at what cost? What is it going to cost you? I think it's always important to look at the cost factor of, if you're leading a team, if you're leading anything, what's the human cost factor of you getting to the success that you see? And over time, I've really learned that I'm a visionary. I already see it. I already see what it is and what
The
we're going
end.
to
Yeah.
build, what that
Yeah.
success looks like. But
Yeah.
other people don't see it yet. So getting to know who I am caused me to slow down, help people to see the vision, help people to buy into the vision so that we're moving together. I already see it, but I have to give other people time to see it and to come along so that they feel successful when we get there.
Mm-hmm. Because they have to see it like you see it. Otherwise, are they going to come with you?
They may come with me, but they're not
But
going
they're
to
not
feel
going to.
good about it when we get there.
They're not going to feel good about it, and they're not. That buy-in is not going to be permanent. Like it's not going to be fixed, right? It's going to be more. Yeah, I'm in, but I'm halfway out.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm
And
in.
that, even I learned that very early on because of that experience. But even going deeper, I think it's important for those of us who lead to really become self-aware, and whether that's through a personality test like the DISC, or a strengths finder, or a predictive index, or um, numerous opportunities to understand who you are more deeply on a more intimate level, and how you move. Knowing that, you can then adjust for people that you're leading
Mm-hmm.
because they operate in a different way.
So, Chaplain, what do you say to that leader out there, that boss, that executive, that VP that is leading a team of people, but they're not giving them as much, say as what you are saying right now? You are just, this is what we need to do. Follow it, you guys. They're just delegating and one and done. Like, what do you say to that person that don't believe that other people's point of view matters as much?
Yeah. The first thing I say is we're all human. None of us are perfect, and none of us are perfect leaders. I'm not a perfect leader. I make mistakes every day. So I think the first thing is to recognize that perfection
Humanity.
doesn't exist. We
Yeah.
we choose it, but it doesn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfectly imperfect. The human
Perfectly
factor,
imperfect.
the humanity of it all. So
Mhm.
if we start with humanity, why do we scold so hard when it's not perfect?
Part of it is, and part of it is, I think, a cultural perspective, that we want to make sure that we represent well,
Mm-hmm.
and we know in some respects, in a lot of respects, that we've got to work harder to get to the same spot than somebody else.
Yeah.
And so we're wanting other people to
People.
do the same.
And then when they don't do the same.
And I can't, as I started, when I started answering this question, I'm not a perfect leader. I'm perfectly imperfect, but I'm striving to make sure that I bring people along with me. And going back to more directly to the question, why is it important to bring people along? If anyone who is listening has ever sat under a leader who really just didn't care, and you remember how that felt, we really don't want the people who are following us to feel that way. We Because then they're not really following us. They're just going through the motions when they're in our
Mm-hmm.
presence.
Checking the
And when
boxes.
they're just
Mm-hmm.
checking the boxes. They're not bringing their creativity. They're not bringing what they could bring to the table to make it even more than what you think it could be. We don't
Mm-hmm.
want anybody to feel that way. And I think it takes a certain level of, I know it takes a certain level of being comfortable with who you are, to be
Mm.
vulnerable enough to realize that other people come with opinions, other people come with things that they can give to make any project better.
Their skills, their experience, their perspective. If I feel like if you as a leader don't want to bring others along to let them see that vision, then you're building, you're trying to build a team of robots, right? And robots will do what you tell them to do. And that is it. But you can't see it all, right? You don't have eyes and you can't do it all, right? So you have these
Right.
team of people that are in different areas doing different things, seeing different things. They're interfacing with the customer, they're having that the clients. You can't be in all the places. So why not make sure that you equip them with everything that they need, right? And to help them, give them the resources, the tools, be that support, that mentor, that guide, to make sure that they make you look good, you make them look good, we all look good, we all win, and everybody.
And that's not to say that you just hand everything over, right?
No.
There are guardrails.
Yeah.
And what I find is the most important thing in this entire process is communication,
Mm.
is being able to really talk freely about what the project is. What ideas do you have? What ideas do I have? What are we going to settle on? How are we going to make sure this works for everyone? How are we going to make sure that it represents our brand? I'm in fundraising, marketing, and communications. How are we going to make sure that it appropriately supports our brand and lives up to the level of excellence that we all want? But it's in
Yes.
the conversation and the communication that people are become a part of the project, not
Mm.
just, you know, going through the motions and checking off the boxes.
Because then if they're a part of it, then it's their creation as well. So they're going to make sure, from my experience, that they take care of that baby. It's like giving birth to a baby. I This is my fruits of my labor that I have put in. So I'm going to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that it's as successful as it can be. So that means I'm going to make sure I put in all the chips all the time, whatever I need to do to make it successful. So it's not just one person lifting, it's us lifting
Right.
together.
It's us lifting together. And I think that so there are levels to leadership, and there are also levels to followers.
Mm.
One of the kind of curious things to me is this idea of followers affecting the ethos of a team.
Mm.
What I mean by that is
Yeah.
there's this relationship dynamic that's going on between the leader and each follower.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then there's this dynamic that's going on with all of the followers and the leader. And
Yeah.
they're different. They're
Yeah.
different. So my
Yeah.
relationship with one team member is going to be different than it is with another team member because
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
different people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as a leader, I see my responsibility as relating to that follower based on who they are,
Mm-hmm.
and then relating to other followers based on who they are. What
They
one
are.
follower needs, another follower may not need,
Right.
right? But then creating this ongoing conversation between the leader and the follower
Mm-hmm.
so that, we know that communication is imperfect. We
Yeah.
know that we are imperfect.
Yep.
We know that our leadership styles are imperfect.
Perfect. Yep.
But creating this lane where anything can be communicated about.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk about anything. So this may not have gone the way we thought it would have gone or should
Gone.
have
Yeah.
gone,
Yeah.
but we can talk about it. And I think that for me, I often say that I am a recovering perfectionist.
Oh my goodness. I'm taking that. I love that, Jacqueline.
I'm not totally recovered, but I am in recovery.
Recovery. Ah, I love it.
But for me, that communication lane really helps when it comes to expecting perfection, because you have that communication about, okay, well, why did this happen? What we have done differently? What did we learn that we can do differently next time? So it's kind of like this collaborative conversation that's happening all the time.
Because of that line of communication that's open, and it's going like he is constantly going, because of all that's happening. It's not, oh, I'm going to withhold because she didn't talk nice to me today. It's, oh, he just ignored me today. Like, it's constantly open. So if you do something that's off, that hurt me in any way, I can quickly go to you and say, hey, Jacqueline, how you kind of raised your voice a little bit when you were in the meeting, and when I was talking to you back and forth. Is there something going on? Can I help? Like, I didn't like that. And we can have that conversation without having any grudge or holding anything. What do you think about that?
I think that there has to be communication. The breakdown happens when you don't communicate. When you're sitting in your office and you're having all these thoughts go through your head, and I'm sitting in my office and I'm thinking, oh, she just doesn't care,
Fair,
you
right?
know, right?
She don't
Instead
want
of
me to be a part of it, like.
right, instead of having a conversation about it. And I said before that I'm very curious. So I love to ask questions,
Mhm.
because questions help me learn
Mm.
what's happening. How should I be moving next? And I appreciate team members who also ask
Ask
questions,
questions, yeah.
because that's how we get to this level of understanding about what my expectations are and what their expectations are. Um, so learning how to ask questions, I think, also helps even leaders understand a bit more of who they are. So let's say you have a situation happen, and I think it's
Hmm.
always a good practice to, at the end of the day or sometime before you retire at night, to kind of like replay the day and think about things that happened,
Yeah, I do that.
um,
Yeah.
and to really ask yourself a question. Was strange. I wonder why that happened. And
Hmm.
so you can kind of think through that, and be able to go back and then ask those questions and process through it, so that you're not sitting in your office, going, well, I guess she just doesn't care, when that
Hmm.
is not the intention at all.
100%. Uh, Jacqueline, when I was younger, I used to ask my grandmother a lot of questions. And I was very curious, just like you. And I think a little bit too curious, because I would ask all the questions that I probably shouldn't have been asking at that age. Uh, the One of the questions I remember asking her, what how many boyfriends that she had at one time. That conversation did not go well, but eventually she would kind of scold me and say, stop it. And, she would kind of stop, but eventually she would come back like hours or days later. She's like, you remember that question you asked me? Here's the answer to that. But she would ask me that she would answer me on the down low. And I remembered, that's like seared into my being, because the questions brought me and her like so much deeper, closer. Our relationships, we had that constant open line of communication no matter what. And I felt closer to my grandmother because of that. So I think what you are saying, to your point, if you don't have that line of communication, you see your employee as, you don't even see them as human. You see them as somebody that just need to do what you tell them to do, right? They're like an extension over there.
Right? And I think that probably everyone listening, everyone who will listen to this
Yeah.
interview, has sat under leadership that wasn't good, wasn't ideal. All of us have had these experiences with leaders that we, we at the time felt was harsh,
Mm-hmm.
unfair,
Mm-hmm.
um, and we couldn't wait to get out from under that leadership. You know what I have learned upon retrospect?
Don't
I
say what I
learned
think you're gonna say, Jacqueline. Don't. I don't agree with what you're about to say, but let finish your sentence.
I learned so much from sitting under that inappropriate leadership. And and I will even go as far as saying, if I saw them today, I would say thank you.
The self-aware, healed side of me is agreeing with you, but the other side is saying, nah, forget them.
It does not feel good when you are going through it.
Mm-mm.
It does not present itself to seeing a light at the end of the tunnel.
Not at all.
You can't see anything good about it when you're going through it.
My God.
But as human beings, we are called to be healed.
Mm.
So, on the other side, thank thank God for that inappropriate leadership every day, because I know how not to lead. I know what it feels like to sit under leadership that's inappropriate. I don't want anybody on my team feeling the way I
I
felt.
felt.
It made me a better leader. I didn't think it would at the time. I just wanted it to be done and over
Yeah.
because it didn't feel good.
No.
And
It
so
didn't.
I deliberately set time to communicate with my staff. I
Mm.
deliberately
I love that.
communicate with them all day long. I deliberately ask questions when it feels like something is off. I probably over communicate because I have sat under leadership where there were weeks and months of no communication, and you were hoping that you were doing the right thing because you
Yeah.
weren't really getting guidance.
100%. I call that the old traditional way to lead.
Exactly. And I think that's what I was thinking when I started there. The
Yeah.
old traditional leadership is not where you're going to find this space of creating a team that really owns the work.
It's not effective. No, no, it's not effective at all. um I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and I was saying that if you're a leader out there and you know that there's strife or conflict going on within your department, and gossiping, and about one person, and all of this stuff is going on, and you are not doing anything about it, shame on you.
Mhm.
Because those are the kinds of things that tear a culture, a department apart. Like the engagement, the morale, it brings it all the way down. And you, as a leader, you need to take initiative and shut that down.
Not only that, when you care about the type of leader that you are, you will change. What do I mean by that? My personality is, listen, I'm an analyzer. I'm focused on the facts. I'm focused on the goal. I'm going to drive hard until we get to the goal. I'm going to work until we get to the goal. I can outwork just about anybody because I have a mission and a purpose and I'm trying to get to the goal, right?
Hmm.
I have to realize that everybody's not like me, right?
Yeah.
And then I also realize that while I'm focused on the data and the analytics and getting to the goal, that's not that does not hold a lot of emotion for me.
Hmm.
I'm a very direct communicator.
Hmm.
I'm not very emotional.
Hmm.
Everybody's not like me.
Hmm.
So I make a concerted effort and a planned effort to get my team together to talk about, well, what's your personality? What makes you tick? What's my personality? What makes me tick? Where are the crossroads, right? So we're getting to know each
Each
other
other. Hmm.
to the point where if there does come a time when I am focused on the data and the analytics, you already know this other side of me, right? I'm
Hmm.
putting coins in that bank so that
Mm-hmm.
when there does come a time that we really have to focus on getting the work done and we don't have time, I can withdraw
You
something.
right, right, right. 100%. I love that because you know that this is not an area that I'm not like 100. That's this is not 100% of my personality. These are the areas that I focus on, and then you accept that. That's going back to your original statement. You got to know who you are. Lead from who you are, folks.
You have
So
to know who you are.
you have to know who you are.
And
So
the other reason that you have to know who you are
mhm,
is because if you don't, you will follow any example that has been put in front of you, good, bad, or indifferent. And I have seen it happen. I have seen people who, they don't know who they are. And so they're doing what has been modeled in front of
mhm,
them,
mhm,
even though that leadership did not feel good to them,
mhm,
did not lead them to a place of prosperity.
mhm.
They will lead other people in that same way because they don't know who they are, and that's what they've seen.
So they're emulating what they see, and then others will see that and see as, oh, I'm gonna be just like him. I'm gonna do exactly that because it trickles down, right? Who, how you are
Exactly.
treating that director is gonna go and so forth to interact with their manager, the frontline employee that way, and then it goes down and down and down. So it starts from the top and it starts from the bottom. It's a constant. Whatever's going down
Mm-hmm.
at the bottom, it comes up, and whatever going on the top, it comes down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. So, before you saw your potential, Jacqueline, how did you start to see it in yourself?
Hmm. How did I start to see potential in myself?
Yeah.
It's a hard question to answer.
You can give it some
You know,
thought.
there's this dilemma of whether leaders are born or made,
Yeah,
and I think the answer is probably both.
I agree. That's
And
what I
and I
say.
think I think I was a born leader. I think I'm a firstborn, first to go to college, first to have any kind of terminal degree, first to have any kind of professional job, first to get on a
Oh,
plane,
what?
first to travel. So I don't, there were people modeling that for me. So I think there was something that was born in me
Mm-hmm.
that drove me to lead.
Where did you go first when when you went on the plane? I'm curious.
New York City.
The Big Apple. I love it.
And that is like my favorite city to visit now.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Good, good. I love that. First to
Now
get on a
again, I mean,
plane.
along with that, of course, there were inputs along the way,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
I talked about leadership in the church,
Mm-hmm.
teachers,
Mm-hmm.
you
People
know,
that were
when I
instilling,
went to
dropping.
college.
Yeah,
So there
yeah,
were, and as I was thinking about this interview and thinking about mentors and those inputs, I can't say that I had a lot of mentors that I could touch,
yeah.
but I was an avid reader. So books and authors became
I'm
my
my
mentors. Leadership
mentors.
books became my
Um,
mentors.
what's your favorite book right now?
My favorite, I can't say I have a favorite book right now, but I have a couple of favorite books.
Couple, a couple, a
Um,
couple.
one
Yeah,
of
I'm
them
with
is
you.
First Things. You're listening? One of them is First Things First by Stephen Covey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The other one is, I wrote it down because I knew you were going to ask me that question. Seven Habits.
Seven Habits of a Highly Effective. Yep, 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 yep.
Yes, by Stephen Covey. Um, and then I'm kind of different, I think, in the books that I read. I kind of like studies.
Yeah.
So one of the other books that really stuck with me or sticks with me is See Jane Win or How Jane Won. They're two different books. One is See Jane Win, the other one is How Jane Won.
I don't know. I don't know that one. I don't know that one.
It talks about the statistics of women becoming leaders
Mm-hmm.
and the inputs that they had to become leaders in their respective fields.
Oh, by Caitlin Moscatello. Is it C. Jane
Don't
Win?
See Jane Win.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like it should be a one. It sounds like a one word. C. It's C. Jane Win. It's an actually three letter, three different letters.
Right,
Three
right.
words. Three words. The inspiring story of the woman changing American politics.
See Jane Win.
So
Now,
what is it about? Like, give me a quick. Are you gonna force me to read it? Fine, I'll add it to my
yeah,
list. I'm gonna add
yeah,
it
I'm
to
going to
my
force you to
list.
read it. Now, what is interesting to me about that, so people learn for a couple of different reasons. There's learning just for learning's sake. And one of my top five strengths is I'm a learner.
Yep, me
But
too.
there's also learning for a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
learning to apply. I
Mm-hmm.
learn to apply.
Me too.
So, as I am learning what were the inputs that made these women successful, what can I take from that and input into my own life
Mm.
to help make me successful? And I think that type of reading as a young person really just expands what you think you're capable of doing.
Yeah, yeah. I like that. You went really deep there, Jacqueline. Oh my goodness. That was really good. I'm gonna marinate on that for the rest of the evening. What does you said success? What does success look like for you personally? Because it's different for everyone.
It's different for everyone. I think, first of all, for me,
Mm-hmm.
success was something that I didn't know that I was until I was actually successful.
Hmm.
My path has always been that I wanted to be in a position to help women and children because of my
Mm-hmm.
own upbringing. And I say that everybody has some trauma in their background. We
I
all have
agree.
trauma.
Go to therapy, you guys. Go to therapy. Do some counseling. Do talk to somebody. You got trauma,
Mhm.
okay? I agree.
And we all have it.
Mm-hmm.
None of us have escaped having trauma.
No.
So I have always wanted to be in a position where I could help women and children.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that I could not be the person that was actually in the field doing the hands on work.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm supposed to help millions of women and children. So I have found myself in these roles within nonprofit organizations where I'm supporting those who are in the field.
Mm.
And indirectly, I am
Mm-hmm.
helping those millions of women and children.
A hundred
That's
percent
part of my success.
success. Yeah.
But the other part of that is being kind of this eclectic or eclectically skilled person, if that's a
Yeah.
phrase.
Yep. Yep.
Many different skills. I'm a strategist. I'm an analyzer. I love data. I write well. I speak well. I love communication and marketing and advertising. So, all of that for me, when I can use all of those skills to
Yeah.
move forward, helping women and children, that to me is success.
If a woman come to you right now, a woman that is going and she going through a lot, and she's saying she is done. She's done trying. She's done hoping. She's done. What is one sentence you would tell her? One sentence.
It's not over until it's over. If I can only say that
Yeah.
soundbite. But if I could
Yeah.
say more, you know, our journey is about our mindset. And if you
Mhm.
decide you're done, you're done. But you can also change your mind. You can change your mind and say you're not done because it's not over until it's over.
Not until fat lady sings, or skinny lady, or all the ladies. Everybody got to sing. 100%. I agree 100%. What did the famous author say? That it's you, what you say you will have. So if you say you can. And if you say you can't, well, you can't. Because you are
What you
deciding.
say, you will your tongue creates your reality. Which one of the things that I do that has is separate from my work, but I'm just someone who's always seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
I am always seeing a way that it can be done versus
Mm.
thinking it can't be done.
So you're a glass half full kind of a girl.
Glass is full, right? And in my profession as a fundraiser, if I'm going to raise millions of dollars, I have to see the $1 million before it is even a reality. Because if I don't believe it, who's going to believe it?
That's right.
Now, the path to get there, we have to walk that out,
Right.
but it's already so.
Yeah, it's
It's
already in the
already a
bank.
reality.
It's in the bank.
So one of the things that I do is I have an inspirational text line,
Mm-hmm.
and every Wednesday I send out an inspiration, but the inspiration is more than about being inspiration. It's about being motivated to get up and put it into action, because
Mm.
inspiration is fleeting. You can be
Mm-hmm.
inspired this minute and uninspired the next minute. But if
Mm-hmm.
you don't start moving towards the goal, you'll be in the same spot. You'll be inspired, but you will not have accomplished anything.
Yep. Yep. The action. They say that the action creates that motion, and that one step, one foot in front of the other, right? And that will inspire you to move again. And then, oh, okay, that felt good. Let me do some more of that. And then you keep moving. You keep moving forward,
Exactly.
forward.
So let me share with you the inspiration that went out today.
Yeah.
Have you considered that the obstacle is the way? While you're on the road to get to where you must arrive, obstacles are teaching you how to get there. Consider asking the obstacle what it has come to teach you. Then be quiet and listen. Then ask for divine intervention to learn the lesson so the same obstacle doesn't present itself over and over again. Today, may you find the courage to appreciate every obstacle you encounter, the perseverance to endure the lesson, and the wisdom to move on to the next.
Amen. Namaste. My goodness. That was really good. Oh my goodness.
So you
Thank
know,
you for sharing that, Jacqueline.
you're welcome.
What were you gonna say?
I was just going to say that if we as leaders, as people, can understand one of the things that I heard you say, if you're not having a good time of it right now, just wait. It'll change. And if we can understand or practice how to wait, and while we're waiting to be in action to get to
Mm.
that place where we need to be, eventually we'll get there. You have to believe that you're going to get there, because the belief creates.
Yeah. My goodness. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. That's what the good book says. And they that love it shall eat the fruits thereof. What fruits are you eating today? Jacqueline's words and this entire theme is lead from who you are. It starts with you. You can do it. We're in Q2. We got so many more Q quarters to go. You can do it. Jacqueline, do you want to leave the good people with one last what's on your heart before we get out of here? This was so amazing.
I think the one overarching thing is for us to become comfortable with who we are, which will help us to lead from who we are. When we are not trying to imitate others, when we are accepting of the fact that we are unique and one of a kind, we can become comfortable with who we are. And that will help us to really step into leading from who we are.
I agree. Thank you for your time today, Jacqueline. This is only part one. Ladies and gentlemen, Jacqueline will be back next week for part two of Lead from Who You Are. We will see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here and supporting this channel. If you enjoy this episode and this content, it would mean a lot to me if you would take a few seconds to ensure you are subscribed to A Glimpse of Growth with Dr. Dale. Click the notification bell to receive notification. Share it with someone you think may need it. And let's continue to become more intelligent with our emotions. Thank you. See you later.